Welcome to Cosmic Conversations, the podcast where spirituality meets real life. I'm Siobhan, your host, aka the Cosmic Coach, and this is a space where we are going to explore the layers of what make us truly who we are. There's going to be a series of solo episodes along with some incredible guests, a space where we can truly discuss the universe within us all. The following episode of Cosmic Conversations with Rachel O'Shea is broken up into two parts. There was just so much for us to talk about, so enjoy part one and make sure you tune in next week for part two. Rachel O'Shea, welcome to Cosmic Conversations. It's so exciting to have you on today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm so excited.
Oh my god, me too. I feel like we're going to have such a good conversation, and
No,
I'm
definitely.
trying to get someone on who is like into all things astrology, and I know that is very much your vibe.
My passion.
Yeah, literally. Oh my god, I could literally, even our Instagram messages, I'm like, oh my god, I'm learning so much already. But in so many of the episodes, like, astrology is like always something that maybe I'll touch off, and like sometimes in readings it'll be information that will come forward, will be like the astrological signs, but I'm always like, no, I want to have an actual episode where we go into this a little bit more, explain what it is and why it's important and how it's actually real and not just something that people believe in. But before we do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm 26. I'm from West Cork. I did business in college. I graduated and everything, but it just wasn't for me. It just didn't like stimulate me, or like I just wasn't passionate about it. So I'm working in a restaurant since I graduated because I just want to save up money, go traveling, do all that. And I've always been interested. Well, not always, sorry. I first got into astrology like 5 years ago during COVID, and I was always interested during college, but like it was just more like a little hobby. Like I didn't know much about it. Like I was kind of like slowly learning it like the last 5 years, but it wasn't until the last like maybe 2 or 3 years that I really was like, okay, there's something to all this. Because like when I first, like basically how it happened was I saw a TikTok video of like this astrologer being like, oh, like, do you know that there's more to astrology? Like you need to know your exact time of birth, like blah blah blah. And I like was like, oh, I didn't know that at all. So then I basically just went down, I suppose, a bit of a rabbit hole. Like it was COVID, like, you know. And I realized there's a lot more to it. And then I was looking up my own chart, like reading my moon sign and my Mercury and my Venus. And I was like, because I'm a Cancer, and it's not just Cancer in your chart. Like you're a Gemini, you don't just have Gemini in your chart. Because I didn't like, especially when I was younger, I didn't relate to everything that was said about Cancers, which across the board, a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't relate to this about my sign, or I don't relate to any of my sign. So when I was reading like more in depth about my chart, I was like, hang on a second, there's this is actually describing me like really, really well.
Yeah.
And it just like started like that, where I just thought it was interesting. Like I didn't like believe in it straight away because like I didn't know much about it. And then as time went on, I was just researching it more and more and more. And then I got like quite knowledgeable about it. I'd be practicing on my friends, my family, my coworkers. And then I realized like it wasn't just like a thing I woke up one day and was like, I believe in astrology, but like it was a slow enough process. And then, yeah, I suppose I just got to a stage where I was like, I can no longer deny all this when I have done dozens and dozens of charts for people, um, all with their exact time of birth, and everything just like aligns, and everything just like makes sense. And I honestly just couldn't deny it, because I was actually a bit of a like a skeptic with all these stuff, like mediums and stuff. Like a few of my friends had gone, like yeah, I wasn't like always like a bit woohoo, we'll say. Um, so yeah, now I'm like 100% certain that like astrology is real. Like whether people are like it or not, like it is. Like I have done research now for 5 years. I have done so many birth chart readings, and like there is something to it.
Yeah, it's so true. And like I love how like your like awakening to this was COVID. I feel like everyone had like their big awakenings during
Yeah.
COVID, and we all kind of branched off into our little areas. But I want to ask you, with the birth chart readings, is this like something that's self-taught, or did you like do like a course online, or just like watch videos on it?
So like kind of a mix. So like first I was just watching like TikTok videos and like literally just researching articles on Google. Then as I got more into it and I kind of found like maybe some of my favorite astrologers, I'd follow them on all their socials, I'd watch their YouTube tutorials. So I learned a lot from YouTube. Then I was branching out and actually like building, I suppose, a bit of rapport with some experienced astrologers, asking them random
Mm-hmm.
questions, like, is this true, like blah blah blah, because there's a lot of BS online. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that I initially learned like back in 2020, 2021 that like wasn't, like, astrology is like so old, like it is
Yeah.
ancient. So like obviously over time there's going to be misinterpretations
Mm-hmm.
about it. So like I went back to like the ancient astrology and how it was actually taught and not how it was modernized and westernized. Like it'll say like yoga, do you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's all being a bit westernized right now, but like the true yoga is, anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The original teachings of it.
Yeah.
Um, so, and then I would do, like, I haven't done like courses, but I've done classes, we'll
Mm-hmm.
say like seminars, online seminars, Zoom calls. Like, the thing with astrologers, like, they're so, obviously, we're so passionate about it. And like, I would love answering questions for people. So, like, astrologers have done the same for me, where like I have done paid classes, but I've also done just like Zoom chats with people,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be happy because they're just so passionate. They want to spread on
Yeah.
and share their knowledge about it. And then I've read a load of books. Like I went to London a couple of months ago, and they have an astrology shop there. I was actually like a kid
I'd
in a
say
candy
you're in
shop. I was like,
elements.
I was there by myself, and I wanted to go by myself on purpose because I didn't want
Oh,
anyone to be like, okay, Rachel, can we leave now?
yeah.
I was actually there for like 2 hours, and I bought like 3 or 4 books,
Wow.
and like literally like 300 pages each, like, and I could have bought way more, but obviously like could fit
Yeah.
my suitcase and
Bring
stuff.
all this home.
But so any resource basically, like learning from other astrologers on their socials, watching their YouTubes, doing online classes or seminars with them, asking them questions, reading books, and then just like my own research as well, like when I would practice on my friends. And it's, astrology is all patterns and cycles. So like
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like one or two things, like if I see one or two things in someone's chart that has the same like result, or job or family like pattern, like that's maybe a coincidence. But when it shows up 7, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times with all different people with the same placement, then that's not a coincidence, that's a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about pattern recognition, like recognizing those things, being observant.
Mm-hmm.
So all just through practice of doing people's charts for them, that's like me gaining experience and knowledge and learning, and like me asking them questions like, what do you like in relationships, what do you do for work? Like that was before obviously I started doing my professional readings um this year. So I learned, like the best way to learn anything is by doing,
Yeah.
by actually, like, do you know what I mean? So that's where I gained honestly most of my knowledge. And I
Yeah.
just have such a good memory because as well I'm so interested and
Yeah.
passionate about it. I just absorb the information. So it's like people are like, Rachel, how do you remember all this?
It's
There's so
like
much information.
yeah.
And I'm like, guys, I just absorb it because I'm so interested in
Yeah.
it.
You want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
literally.
I love that. I know you kind of touched off like what astrology is there with like patterns and sequences, but like to someone who's maybe like has an astrology app on their phone, maybe he's like, oh, I know my star sign is Taurus or whatever. How would you explain like what astrology is and what even your birth chart is?
So I wrote down like a definition by this astrologer called Chris Brennan. He is like a teacher of astrology. He has years experience. He's amazing. So he said that astrology is the study of celestial recurrences where the alignment of the planets will correlate with an important event, and then a similar event will happen when the same alignment repeats in the future. So basically, astrology is all cycles, patterns, and observation. It's a system, it's a tool, and it's a map. And like you are the
Mm,
navigator. Because like people say to me like, oh, like, okay, I'm open minded about astrology, but like, does that mean like everything is predestined for us, that everything's like written in the stars for you and your life is like already like, predetermined for you? But like, I don't believe that. I think we absolutely have free will,
mhm.
like, obviously. Do you know what I mean? So you have choice, you have decisions to make, but that's also reflected in your birth chart. And like, I think the analogy of like your chart being a map and you're the navigator is like, it's a really good one in my
Yeah,
opinion. So
yeah. It's so interesting that you like said map. I think I've heard of it being referenced to as a map
Yeah,
before, and like
yeah.
I remember like I'd love to hear like even your opinion of like maybe like seeing on TikTok that like people like really high up in power or maybe just really wealthy people would have like astrologers working for them being like, is it a good time to do this, when should I launch this?
Absolutely. It is I say this, it is the world's best kept secret. And like, I think I don't want to get into this too much because I will sound a bit woohoo, but I think there's a reason why like, we're not taught astrology in school, or like they're telling us astrology is not real. Because like, imagine it would like spread mass panic for like every Mercury retrograde, for every full moon. Like, a society would sometimes come to a halt if there was like
Yeah.
negative astrology. Do you know what I mean? That's what I think anyway. But obviously you can't let it dictate your life. You have to, like, there's good astrology, there's bad astrology, like there's good days and bad days, like that's just life. Um, Sorry, what did you ask me again? I went off topic there. Oh, yeah, sorry,
It's about,
powerful people. Yes.
yeah, like
So
power.
yeah, so yeah, 100%. Like, so many, I made a TikTok about this a couple of months ago. So many celebrities are into astrology, and like, oh, there was like what's her name? That actress Rachel something was on Jimmy Fallon there like recently, and she like did his birth chart, and she was like, "You're a Scorpio and you're intense and sexy," and I was like, "No, please. If I hear someone call a Scorpio sexy and intense again, I'll like intense maybe because of their emotions and their depth, but we'll get into that. But like, these are like the pop, what astrologers say is like pop astrology, where it's like Geminis are two-faced and Scorpios are really mysterious and sexy. That is a load
Yeah.
of BS. So like, that is why astrology gets such a bad rep, and that Virgos are like neat freaks. Like,
Mm.
I know so many Virgos that are quite messy actually. Like,
Uh,
it's not.
my partner, if he's listening.
Yeah, so you have to look at the whole chart, because like, people, I when I was in India recently, I was, doing the birth chart readings for the girls, and one girl said to me like, "Oh, I'm a like," after I did her reading, she was like, "Oh my God, this makes so much more sense." And she was like, "I'm a Leo, and I never related to be a Leo." And why did she not relate to being a Leo? Because she was a Leo sun, she was a Virgo moon, a Virgo Mercury, a Virgo Venus, and she was a Libra Mars, and her rising was in Taurus or something. So she had one Virgo placement, or one Leo placement.
Oh my
So
god.
how can you relate
And that's the
to
one that
being your
makes
star sign if the majority of your chart is in a completely different sign? And she related to being a Virgo so much.
yeah, and that's the one that we like place all our bets on. It's like, ah, my sun sign is this. That's so interesting,
Yeah,
isn't it?
you cannot. Astrology is not just your star sign. It is not, because that's just saying like there's so many different parts to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But back to the powerful people, like, Paul McCarthy and Linda McCarthy are known to be massively into astrology. Like, where I went in India, Rishikesh, it's like really spiritual, the birthplace of yoga. And the Beatles visited Rishikesh. They wrote a song about Rishikesh, um, like back in the 60s or whatever. And they have like, there's like a Beatle like temple. Like, they're
Oh,
so spiritual. And like, how rich is Paul McCarthy? Do you know what I mean?
wow.
Apparently, American President Reagan,
Reagan.
Ronald, yeah, yeah, Reagan. He and his wife Nancy were like apparently massive into astrology, and they would use astrology to like plan meetings and stuff. Like,
God.
yeah, there's like a saying among the astrology companies that it's not the millionaires that are using astrology, it's the billionaires. And I 100% believe it. Oh, people use it for crypto and everything, and for investing. They'll like, yeah.
Holy.
And people laugh at this, and like, I'm kind of like, well, laugh away at them, because they're laughing at you and all their money. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they're probably not doing any big investments during Mercury in retrograde, anyways.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah.
Um,
You know?
which we'll get into. But oh my god, I have so many questions. Like even just thinking that, I'm like, oh my god. Um, but I wanted to ask you actually about your travels, and I've heard like again on TikTok where all the great or all our information nowadays comes from. Um, that there's things called I'm not going to say the right name, but it's like I don't know if it's like cartography lines. It's like basically where points like astrologically
Yeah.
for you that you'll have like really nice experiences in the planet. What's your stance on that? And did that correlate
So
with
that's something
travels?
is, yeah, so definitely something I want to learn about more. I actually would love to do a course on that. I like, like I know about it and I've looked at my own and some of my friends and stuff. I don't do readings on it because I'm not knowledgeable enough on it. But there's definitely something to it and it's really, really interesting, but it's quite in depth. Like it's not as straightforward and simple as like, oh, let's go to my Venus line because Venus is love and relationships, or let's go to my Jupiter line because Jupiter is luck and expansion. And that means if I go to that city or that country, then I'm going to have a great time.
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily, like, it's deeper than that because what sign is your Venus and Jupiter in? What house is it in? What
Mm.
aspects is it making? So, just because it's a positive planet doesn't mean it's positive, the most positive planet in your chart.
Yeah.
Um, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's definitely something to that and something I definitely want to learn more about.
Yeah. So it's essentially
And I've
like
been to,
one.
sorry, I've been to, when I, because obviously I got into astrology first and then I realized that was a thing, like, I don't know, maybe in like 2022 or 2023 or something. And obviously I'd done a good bit of traveling before that. And when I looked up mine and seen certain planets in places that I had been, and then like, on the websites or the apps or whatever, it'll give you like a brief little summary of like how you might feel or what you might experience in those places, and it lines up, and like it's really weird.
Hmm.
Like there was a lot going on in my map for San Francisco, and that's where I did my J1. Like there was a abundance of things going on there, and I spent like a summer there, which is crazy.
That's so
And
true.
like why wasn't and like why wasn't it like up in like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a random city like Chicago or something. Like there was nothing going on up
Yeah.
there, you know?
Yeah.
It's just it's really interesting.
It is so interesting. And like, so that information again, you get from your birth chart.
Yeah, but you need to know your exact time of birth. I would be blue in the face saying this to people and saying it on my stories, but like it's something so important. And like I always give this example to people when I'm like, say if people reach out to me and they're like, oh, I'd love an astrology reading. And I'm like, okay, but you know your exact time of birth? Because when people are like to me, like, oh, I was born at 10 a.m., I was born at half 7 in the evening, I was born at 8:15 in the morning, like it's just too like general. Like if
Yeah.
you're saying to me I was born at 13 minutes past 9 at night, I'm like, perfect. You know,
Hmm.
so like one example of my friend, like me nagging all my friends for the last couple of years, being like, ask your mom what time you were born.
Hmm.
And she was like, oh, I don't know, like mom doesn't know. But then she had like, a story of like the day she was born, that her aunt was basically at pranks when she got the phone call. So I was like, okay, so it's probably like they were saying like maybe like, um, or no, they were at an after. So she was like, okay, we were probably born at like
Okay.
5 a.m., 6 a.m., something like that. And I was like, okay, this makes sense because there's like a story to it. But then I put it in for her. And because I know her, I was like, no, I said, this is wrong. I said,
Yeah.
this doesn't correlate to your life and who you are. So I was like, go home, please, and search for your baby book, because the Irish Mammies were great for
Yeah.
a baby book. It's not on a lot of the birth certs. I've done readings for people like in the UK, Spain, South America. It seems to be on their birth certs, but for people born in Ireland before 2004, it doesn't seem to be on it. Maybe for like, I think it happened for like one person that was born in like 1998 or something. I think it depends on the county, the hospital, the nurse, like if they just did it or whatever. But like I found mine on, my mom did like a baby book for me. So like check if you have a baby book, check if it's on your birth cert because it might be, and check if your mom brought home like the hospital tag, when it's like the
Hmm.
sex and the weight
Yeah.
of the child and stuff. Because so many of my friends have been like, oh, like she didn't keep that, like she like, whatever. And then like 2 years later, I'll get a Snapchat and it'll be a picture of that, and I'm like, I'll never give up hope, because I've literally found, I'd say 95% of my friends, well, they have found their time of birth, even though they're like, we'll never find it.
Oh,
Um,
good.
so it is out there, and it's just like, oh yeah, back to that story. So then she found her baby book, and then the time was like nearly 10 o'clock at night. So her aunt was actually at like the prank. So it was just before she was
Ah,
about to go out. So not at the afters. So she like, so
okay. Hmm.
this is why, and that changed it. Like that's and like
Hours.
hours of
Yeah.
hours. It changed it flipped it upside down nearly. Like
Hmm.
it changed the whole birth cert or birth chart, and it's happened so many other times as well where like um people have said like, oh, I think I was born at like 2 a.m. and then they found their thing and they were born at like 4 or 5 a.m. Like even like a half an hour could change it if you're on the border
Yeah.
of a sign. So this is why and I probably come across annoying to people when I'm like, are you sure this is your time of birth? Because like I want to do it right. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to give you the wrong information because it's happened so many times with like family and friends the last couple of years that their time of birth has been wrong until I've nagged them and probably bullied them to find
Yeah.
their baby book.
Yeah.
And then like most of the time, like because especially if you have a lot of you have a lot of siblings and obviously like your mom, it's
Yeah, it's not.
a traumatic time.
Yeah, it's
You're
not
gonna forget.
really.
You're gonna get mixed up. So and then they're like, I trust my mom, and then I'm like, okay, but so many moms have been wrong. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
and
say your
also
mom is wrong,
if
but
you
like,
like had the epidural, or you could be high, and you're like, you don't really know what's going on. So
yeah, literally.
yeah,
So I'm so like adamant. I'm so like, okay, are you sure? Because I just don't want to I'm giving dates and everything. I don't want to give you the wrong. I'd rather just like, I won't do your birth chart if you don't have your exact time of birth. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I need it to be right. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to give you the wrong information. So yeah.
So for the birth chart, then you need obviously the name, the date of birth, and the time of birth. It's just so important. Um, and then like
And look,
location of birth as well.
yeah. So like if, because a lot of people like, even just because you're Irish, I'm not going to assume that you were born in Ireland. You could have been born in Spain and moved over. You could have been born in America,
Yeah.
different time zones. Do you know what I mean?
Ah,
So,
yes.
um, so that is really important. Like, if like yeah, the risings are definitely going to be different. The moon could be even be different. So it's yeah, all those like tiny details are really important.
And then what like information can a birth chart reading do? Like why would someone, or I should say, how would someone benefit from getting a birth chart reading done?
Honestly, so many things. Like you can understand yourself better. Like if you're feeling a bit lost, I think it's like a good thing to do. You can just, it's good as well for like, okay, so actually when we were in India, we met this like really spiritual man. We were like talking to him over like breakfast one day, and he was really into astrology. And he basically gave this really good analogy, and I was like, that's so true. So he said, if you don't use astrology as a tool, it's kind of like you're in the water, there's a big wave coming, and you're facing the shore. You can't see the wave coming.
I love that.
I know, same. So
Mm.
he said, and if you do know your birth chart and you know, or even if you go to astrologer, you're facing the wave so you can see it and you can move or run out of the way accordingly. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like precaution, I suppose, that if there's like going to be a bit of like, negative transits for you, that you can prepare and plan ahead, that you can be like, okay, I'm going to, try my best to be positive. I'm going to like, go to the gym. I'm going to go on my mental health walks. I'm going to check in. I'm going to make sure, like imagine if you could like literally just like look into the future and see that you're going to have a bad week, then you would obviously be like, okay, maybe I'll meal prep so that if
Yeah.
I'm tired after work, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
So
you. And I'm wondering, like, as like I don't know if this is my coach's hat coming on, like let's say if you see in someone's chart that there is a challenging time coming up, whether it's in their, family or career house. I'm not really sure if I'm saying it properly. Um
no, you are.
how could you like maybe like word that or prepare someone and say, okay, this is gonna be time of like, seeking out friends or spending time alone or going on a bit of a self discovery, like so that they're not like, oh shit, oh no, like everything's gonna be upside down, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because like that is a big thing on like say TikTok with astrology, is that these astrologers, especially the ones with massive platforms for clickbait, they'll be like, Taurus and Scorpios, listen up, this full moon is going to be the most dramatic weekend of your life and it's going to change your life forever. Like, no, not every full moon, first of all, is going to affect you. And not every full moon, even if it does affect you, is going to be this big, massive drama and change. Like, sometimes it's just something as simple as like, just like the things that are on your mind, or you just finish a work project that happened 6 months ago. Like it's not always going to be like a messy breakup or like a screaming fight with your family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it's not black and white. And I've forgotten again what you just asked me. I keep going
That's
off
okay. We were talking
on a
about,
tangent.
no, it's so interesting. It's like we were talking about like how like the fear mongering and that like it can mean different
Yeah,
things and it can affect you in different ways. And yeah, like
yeah. I don't like the fear mongering, the doom and gloom of it. Like if like say especially with my friends, like they're always checking in and texting like what's going on, like or sometimes I do like warn them if like oh like Saturn, which is one of the malefic planets, is going to be entering this house of yours, like maybe just like um work might be a little bit challenging for the next while, like
yeah,
yeah, usually I don't like, I think I tell them like in the moment because then they're feeling it anyway.
yes.
I don't think I've ever, I try not to
Yes,
like,
I get you. So it's
yeah,
almost like you're reassuring them like, hey, you're not going
yeah,
crazy, it's the planet.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I'm not like, I don't have that much time to be going through all my friends' charts and like pre-warning them of like
Yeah,
loads of
yeah,
things that are like coming up, and then also like, I don't do that unless people ask me,
yeah.
that's like their life and it's private. But like another thing that astrology can do, because I have some stuff written down here, it can help you align with your projects, your purpose, your path with decisions and plans. So you aren't forcing things when the time isn't right. Like astrology is all about timing.
Okay.
Which like I have noticed so much
Hmm.
in my life. Like sometimes people's love lives are going to be delayed. Sometimes their careers are going to be delayed,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean that you're behind or anything is wrong with you.
Hmm.
It's just the astrology, and like, oh my God, it's given me so much peace. It's
Yeah.
like amazing, and I've given my friends so much reassurance and peace as well. And like, the clients I've done readings for, like, it's honestly just like so reassuring that we're all on our own like path. And like, it's so funny when like I see, advice TikToks or like even like PTs or people who are into the gym and they're like giving all these quotes, and I'm like, that's Saturn. I'm like, when they're like, um, consistency is key, like, going to the gym and stuff. I'm like, that's literally Saturn. If you do stuff every single day and show up, like that's literally the definition of Saturn, like when I go through it in a second. So I see astrology play out
In so many
like
ways.
literally, yeah, like it's crazy.
That's so interesting. And yeah, I was thinking that like I imagine it gives you the ability to see like so much unfold. So like I'm wondering like with a birth chart reading, like are you able to see like when people might have kids or when they might meet their love life, or would it just be like, oh, there's going to be a peak around the love line here, or there's going to be change, or like can you see like if someone's going to like relocate, like how specific? I
Yeah.
imagine a lot of it you're using your intuition as well.
No, so astrology isn't really your intuition because there's methods to it all. So like you have your natal birth chart, then there's a thing called your lunar return chart, which basically is like um it's a monthly chart based on the moon, because the moon is in a cycle of 28 days,
Mhm.
30 days, whatever. So it can give like an insight into that specific month for you. And then your solar return chart, so the sun solar obviously is from one birthday to the other. So it's not based off the calendar year like January to
Right.
December 2025. Like because you're a Gemini born in May, your solar return for every year will be May 25 until May 26, and then it'll start a new one May 26 to May 27, and that will give you insights and themes
Mhm.
into that specific um, time period for you.
Yeah.
So if you have a load of planets in your 10th house, I'll be able to say, okay, between May 25 and May 26, massive themes with your long-term goals, your career,
Mhm.
and then if there's loads going on in your relationship house and you're single, like I was able to predict one of my friends getting into a relationship.
Oh my
Sorry.
god.
And it was like my first like big one, and it was so funny. So like her birthday's March, and I predicted it the April. She met him, I'm gonna say that May or June. They were going out by the December, but I never told her because I just wanted to
Didn't want to like put it in
unfold.
her head and then she can be the
Yeah,
first person or something that case.
yeah, exactly. Because I wanted it to unfold and
Organic.
happen
Yeah.
naturally. People think I'm off my head now saying this, but I wrote it in my notes app. I wrote her name. I said what would happen. I wrote the date, and then I remember, she met this guy or whatever, and like I wasn't like, oh my god, it's definitely going to be him, because I was like, she's just like dating him or whatever. But then when she FaceTime, and I remember I was walking, she'll know now who I'm talking, like she'll know when she listens to this. I was walking down Oliver Funkin Street and she FaceTimed me and she's like, he asked me out last night or whatever, and me screaming like, ah, so excited for you or whatever.
I knew.
And then I was like, I knew, girl. And then I was like explaining, because her sun, which, so the sun in the solar return chart is like what you need to look at, because the sun is solar, like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like the main theme for that year, and it was in her seventh house of long-term commitments and relationships. So when I saw that, I was like, because she asked me around her birthday to like look up. I was telling her other stuff. I clocked that, but I didn't tell her because, as I said, I wanted it to happen and unfold
Yeah.
naturally. And then because she's really into it, and then when I told her, she was like, "That is literally crazy." And then I showed her like in person, and she was like, "That's
Oh
crazy."
my god.
It's so cool.
I'm dying to know now. I'm sure everyone listening is like, what house is
But
the
like,
sun in? Like, do you know what I mean?
it's not. There's so many different examples of ways that could show up. Like, that's
Yeah.
the most obvious one, so that's why I was able to
Yeah.
see it really
Yeah.
easily. But there's other ones, yeah. But there has, and it can't be just one. There has to be a couple, like, supporting factors.
Yes.
Basically, it can't be just like one. There has to be like quite an overwhelming, um, yeah,
Yeah.
supporting factors with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's honestly the coolest thing ever.
It's so cool. And you mentioned actually there the Saturn return, and I'm seeing all over TikTok like everyone's like, "Oh my god, I'm 28, my Saturn return." Oh, that's why I'm questioning everything in my life. I'm wondering like what is that? Why is everyone talking about it?
Okay, so first of all, Saturn is a malefic in astrology, but it's very more complex than that. So the themes of Saturn is maturity, commitment, discipline, hard work, delays, obstacles, challenges, um, lessons, growth. Some people say karma, but I'm kind of like, okay,
Hmm.
about yeah, that one. I'm kind of like, okay, lessons and growth with that one. So basically, that's what the themes of Saturn are. Then you have to look at where Saturn is in your chart.
Hmm.
So say if Saturn is in your seventh house of relationships. So Saturn is going to probably give you lots of lessons within your relationships, and not just platonic relation or romantic, platonic as well.
Yeah.
It might delay relationships for you. um, so Saturn, obviously being the planet of commitment, like it's very serious. It doesn't like do wishy washy relationships. Like, if I see someone who has Saturn in their seventh house, like either they've been single for a long time because they're not going to be hopping into any relationship that they do not think will last, endure,
Hmm.
that is stable, like long term, that they feel that they can actually give their whole like soul to.
Yeah.
Or else they've been in a long term committed relationship, like they, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so it can show up in different ways. So usually, like, sometimes like relationships unfortunately can be delayed for them, but because they have lessons and growth that they, need to do.
Yeah.
And then basically, so Saturn has a cycle of about 29 and a half years to your Saturn. So that's why your Saturn return. So it's basically like, so okay, so say your Saturn is here
Yeah.
in your seventh house of relationships, um, when you're born, and then Saturn is like moving along very slowly because it's an outer planet. Okay,
Hmm.
that's just science. Okay,
Yeah.
Saturn is like one of the outer planets, so it moves very slowly. So it's moving along, and then it spends about 2.5 years in each zodiac sign.
Hmm.
So there's 12 zodiac signs. So 2.5 multiplied by 12 is about 30. So like roughly give or take, because there's retrogrades and everything. So it's moving slowly. And then roughly when you're like 28, 29, 30, maybe even sometimes 31, you have to like calculate it to know the exact age. Like,
Okay.
it gives you an exact date and
So it's
everything.
not like bang on
And
28, 29 for everyone.
no, yeah. yeah, it's different for everybody. So then it'll return back to the exact same zodiac sign and the exact same degree
It was
um
in when you were
when
born.
you were born. So that's why it's called a Saturn return, because it's returning
Your
to
Saturn
the
has
exact
returned.
same
Yeah.
place when you were born. Yeah.
That's mad how long it takes, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's very slow. Yeah.
And
And that's
what can
why,
people
oh,
expect like in their Saturn return year?
so like it's different for everybody.
Yeah,
It
I was
depends if you
thinking
have a
the house.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it depends on the house, the sign, if it's direct or retrograde. So the opposite of retrograde, like normal, is just like
Yeah.
direct. Um, and then also if you have a thing called a day or a night chart. So a day chart is when the sun is above the ascendant horizon line. So a day chart. And then a night chart is when the sun is below the horizon line. So if you have a day chart, it basically means that Saturn, of the two malefics, Saturn and Mars, Saturn is the it's kind of like the malefic that's not going to give you um, such a hard time
Okay.
if you're a day chart. So that might mean if you're a day chart, then Saturn might be that bit easier
Mhm.
for you. And then if you're a night chart, again, depending on the house and the aspects then and everything and the rulership of it,
Mhm.
it might be a bit more challenging or difficult. But
Okay.
like some people get married during their Saturn returns because like you're that age and Saturn is commitment.
Yeah.
But then if you basically, it's kind of like the entry into adulthood is what the astrology community like refer it as, because if you have been just kind of like floating along, you have, because it's all about your responsibilities and your duties and your obligations. Like there's so many themes to Saturn, because there's also rewards and blessings. Like that's why it is a malefic, but like it can bless you and give you, like if you've worked so hard, say you're an entrepreneur, you set up a business when you were 24, you're not like, you worked consistent every day, you worked so hard, you put your blood, sweat and tears, but you weren't really seeing the results.
Mm.
You're kind of like, why is like you're, maybe you're comparing to other people that you see online that are entrepreneurs and they're made, thousands, and you're just like maybe just about breaking even, like
Mhm.
whatever. It's probably because you may have Saturn, say, in your 10th house or something. And then because you've worked consistently and so hard, Saturn rewards you then for your Saturn return, and it might, be your best year yet. You might get a load of opportunities, like you might
Yeah.
get a load of new clients, your biggest sales year ever, like something like that. But if you just, you're just like a regular person with a regular job, and you've been neglecting your responsibilities, you're not really adulting, you're just a bit like, maybe still a bit like, you know, in your college years or acting like a teenager,
Mhm.
your Saturn return will be quite difficult because
Yeah.
it wants you to be mature. It wants you to like
Yeah.
be responsible for your duties and, you know, adult
Yeah. I'm really
basically.
hearing like how like astrology is like you're reading a chart like it is the like sequences, it is the reoccurrences, but it's also like down to like your free will. Like, are you
Hmm.
like working hard? Are you putting the effort in? What are you
Yeah.
focusing on? What do you really value? Like, it's interesting how it's like it's there, but also you as a person then have influence over it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Saturn is also to do with structure and order and routine. So
Okay.
like even just doing those little things of like having a good routine and like having structure and order in your life and having good time management,
Hmm.
like that can like really like guide and aid you as well, with your Saturn return. But it's not, I think, and again, TikTok has fear mongered it so much. Like, um, it can be a good time. You can get engaged, you can get married, you can get a promotion, you can get you can start a business, you can change careers during your Saturn return. Like, yeah,
Reminder to everyone
you
that
know,
it's not something to be afraid of. When our
yeah,
Saturn
you know,
returns, could be a different age, depending on the charts and the retrogrades and everything, and also depends on you as a person. So that kind of is like,
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. And I suppose that's the thing. It's not just one size fits all. Um, and the next thing I want to ask.
Yeah, because we're individuals for a reason. Sorry, I keep interrupting, but like we're Like it just makes no sense that of course not every Gemini born since the beginning of time is going to be the exact same person.
Yeah.
Like absolutely not. We're all
Yeah.
individuals for a reason, and that is
We would
represented
not
in
like
your
that as
unique,
Geminis.
and like that's the thing with like twins as well. People are like, okay, but how is
Yeah.
astrology real, or how does it work with twins? And literally, as someone whose dad is a twin, and the fact that I still wholeheartedly believe in it 1000%, I think goes
Yeah.
to show that it is real.
Yeah.
Because as much as they have similarities in certain things that played out in their life, they're quite different as well. But like twins have um
Different time.
so the birth chart is divided down even further.
Right.
But like if you were like some twins were born like 10 minutes apart, which can have different rising signs. If one was on the border of one sign, the other one could be the beginning of the other sign.
Okay.
But like a lot of twins are the same rising sign, but like I'm still doing research on it, but I know that it breaks it down even further. Like one twin might be more like the sun sign, and then the other son, or I think maybe like the oldest twin, and then the younger twin is more like the
Ah.
moon sign. It's like something like
Oh,
that. But then
interesting, isn't
I'm,
it?
isn't it? And then I'm really into like Indian astrology as well. They do it a bit different over there, and there is like 30 charts broken down from your birth chart, and that's where they're called divisional charts, so like they're divided down, so that's where the differences in the twins play out, because you could have one twin who is an accountant and then another twin who's like an
Really
artist and like
creative. Yeah.
can't,
Yeah.
yeah, do you know what I mean? And like one might meet their partner um through work, and then the other might meet their partner like online through Hinge or something,
Yeah. That's
and
really
that is all
interesting.
represented in their own unique birth
Yeah.
charts. Even if you're a triplet, like it's all yeah.
Oh my God. And as I'm listening, there's a question. I'm like, oh, I think people would want to know, like, so like I know we mentioned like your star sign or your sun sign are the same things. We're talking about that. Is
Yeah,
it like better to call it your sun sign or
yeah, because star sign kind of like makes it sound like that's it.
yeah,
That like that's all you have. But then you have your sun, you have your moon, your rising, your
yeah,
Mercury, your
yeah.
all these things.
So would you be able to explain to us like what your sun sign kind of means, your moon sign? Like my interpretation is like your moon is your emotions, your rising is who you really are, your sun is who you,
Yeah, kind of. So like your sun is your identity. So it's what you it's like who you are. It's kind of like I am. Like do you ever see those like astrology things where it's like all the zodiacs, and then it's like I am, I feel, I
yeah,
whatever, and then you look at your sun, you're like I am this, I am, and I feel this, whatever.
yeah,
So like your sun sign is your identity, it's your ego. It also represents the authority figures in your life and your father.
mm,
So if anyone like I'm able to like roughly see if you have a positive or negative relationship with your father based on your sun sign. If it's afflicted, if it's in a bad house, if it's
the
in a bad
mother.
sign,
That's
if
so
there's like,
interesting, isn't it?
yeah.
Because it's the mother that
And
like
like
activates,
again,
but okay, sorry, I'll let you go. I'm like, this is so interesting.
and like again, there's like certain aspects and placements that would indicate having an absentee father or a negative father or relationship with your father, because of the amount of charts that I've read, I see the same ones come up over and over.
hmm
I learned them first by like maybe through friends, or like
Yeah,
asking people or people telling me.
being aware. Yeah,
um
what was going on.
yeah, because yeah, and then again, it's just observation, repeated cycles and patterns, the same ones, and it's not just one. There's maybe like there's a good few,
Yeah.
like I don't know exactly how many, but like they show up over and over, like one way or the other.
hmm
But yeah, that's your sun sign. Is how you like express yourself. It's your self expression. And it is a big part of your personality. Like as much as I say astrology is not your sun sign, like I don't discard it either, because it is a big part of you.
hmm
Um, but yeah, it's like who we are and who we strive to be. So I actually seen astrologer say this the last day, and it's so true. So like for people who don't relate to your star sign, your sun sign, there's a number of reasons. The reason I gave a while ago about the girl who didn't relate to being a Leo, but majority of her chart then was in Virgo. So you might only have one placement in your whole chart in the sign of your star sign. So of course you're going to relate to the majority
Mm-hmm.
of the rest of the chart. And then also because this astrologer said that we're not who we are when we're born. We grow into ourselves. So it's like you how you mentioned like your do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? So like
Mm-hmm.
you and then like it's such a thing when you're like like a child, obviously, a teenager in your 20s, you're a bit lost. You don't know exactly who you are. You're still figuring yourself out. So like I have noticed when I do chart readings for older people,
Mm-hmm.
um they resonate more with their sun sign as they've gotten older.
Yes.
Because I've like noticed this when I've asked them, and they're like say in Aries now. A lot of people who are in Aries, who are maybe a teenager in their 20s, they're like, I'm not courageous, I'm not brave, I'm not fearless, like I'm not a risk taker. But then I've asked this one woman, and she said, okay, I wasn't like that when I was younger, but I definitely have grown into myself.
Yeah.
Like,
That's so
yeah, so
interesting.
I know. So there's many reasons why you mightn't relate to your sun sign. But your sun is also like your sole purpose. It's your personal goals and ambitions and how we creatively express ourselves. It's like how we shine, how we like show up because the sun. Think of all like the like I suppose the characteristics of the sun. It's bright, it's shining,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives it's vitality. It's also your vitality because it gives energy. The sun,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah, and
then the rising sign, what would that be more like?
so your rising sign is so another word for rising sign is ascendant because basically it is the so descendant is the sign that is rising on the eastern horizon when the sun rises. I said that so awkwardly, but like so obviously the sun rises on the eastern horizon and it is the zodiac sign that like lands on that zodiac when the sun is rising,
Okay.
if that makes sense, at the exact time and location that you were born.
Okay.
So it, like if you just pulled up like a random birth chart and you cropped out all the information like where the person was born and the time, I would straight away and you were like, okay, what time roughly of the day were they born? And I could straight away go look for the sun and what house it was in. So if it was in the 10th house is the highest point of the birth chart. I'd be like, okay, they were born around midday because that's when the sun is the highest in the sky.
Right, I
And
get you. So that's why it's called rising. That
yeah,
makes so much sense.
yeah, I'm like not great at like articulating it because it
No,
just
you
makes sense
are. You
in
really
my
are.
head. But then say if the sun was like way down the bottom here in like the fifth or sixth house, I'll be like, okay, that's below the horizon. The sun below the horizon, that means it's nighttime. So they were born probably maybe like 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
Like maybe it depends on the time of year as well.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Winter and summer would be different, obviously. Um, yeah, like 8, 9 o'clock, like yeah, in the evening time. And then if someone was born around 6 a.m., um, the time of sunrise, and they're gonna most likely be a rising sign that's very close to their sun sign. So I know people that were
Yeah.
born at 6 a.m.
Okay.
and they have the same sun and rising sign,
That's so interesting because
like this in the same sign.
yeah, because I'm Gemini, but my rising's Aries, which isn't so far away.
Hmm. Yeah, it's only two signs away from it.
Yeah, and I was born at 4. I'm not gonna give the exact time because I know we
Yeah,
actually had a conversation about how your birth chart is something that maybe you shouldn't post on TikTok, as you're saying, because
yeah.
it's like giving someone the blueprint to who you are.
Yeah, like I see that trend where it's like astrologers like read my chart, so I'm kind of like, okay, why don't you book in a reading with these people
Yeah,
first of all,
yeah,
but also second of all, because people don't realize how much time and effort goes in and research that goes into this, and they just think it's like a little like fun little thing, and they're like, oh, like tell me about myself, and then like I do love
yeah.
like indulging in it sometimes because it's like fun and I do learn, but like also people probably shouldn't be posting
Yeah.
like especially some of them go viral with like millions, thousands of
Yeah,
views, and I'm kind of
yeah.
like,
You wouldn't post
okay,
your medical history or anything, your blood type,
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that makes
yeah.
sense.
You know,
Um,
there's a lot that you can see in it, and not to put off anyone getting an astrology reading, because obviously, like, anyone that comes to me is completely private and confidential. And like so many people as well, when they come to me for a reading and they're like, that was amazing. Like, I literally feel like that was like a therapy session. And I'm like,
Aw.
that's just so nice. Like, and that's like how deep it goes. It's not surface level. It's not, astrology is not just your personality where I'm giving general statements where I'm like, you are kind and you are
Yeah,
caring,
like what
and
you're literally saying, like you can
that's
see like relationships with father.
parents,
Yeah.
family.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm wondering then, is the moon the mother?
Yeah,
Ah, okay.
exactly. Yeah.
um,
So your moon is like your inner, yeah, because they're opposite, like celestial, the
yeah.
luminaries. So yeah, the moon is like your inner self. It's your true nature. It is represents the mother, your emotions, your feelings, your intuition, your instincts, like your kind of like your habits, I suppose.
Hmm.
It also represents your emotional well-being and your memories, your subconscious, your adaptability, because the moon moves the fastest of all the placements in astrology. It changes sign every 2.5 days.
Wow.
So that's why cancers get the stereotype that they can be moody, because of course it's changing every 2.5 days. Like the sun doesn't, like, changes zodiacs like every month. That's why the zodiac season roughly every month.
Yeah.
But every 2.5 days, you're like, all this different energy is like going on. So like the moon can be quite uh restless sometimes, but then it's flexible and adaptable. Like that's kind of like the positive and negative sides to it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's kind of like your inner child and your memories. Like you can, like your mother, your family, your childhood,
Hmm.
your psychological patterns, which, you can obviously look at
Interesting.
through like
Yeah.
family and like all that stuff. So yeah, it's very much like your inner self.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like an interesting thing with the moon as well. So the moon in astrology rules the menstrual cycle, because the moon cycle itself is about the same length of time as a
Mm.
woman's menstrual cycle. And in astrology, like that's one things that you would look at for pregnancy. It rules like, women. And in India, actually, they refer to your menstrual cycle as your moon cycle. And then also it's interesting because, okay, the moon, as I said, lines up with a woman's menstrual cycle, and then men are ruled by the sun, which is why you look at the sun for like the father, and men have the 24-hour.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but
Yeah.
like, yeah. So that's
Circadian. Is it
how,
circadian?
yeah, rhythm, yeah. So that's how that yeah, manifests or lines up. Like it's very accurate.
Yes.
And then obviously, like the moon controlling the tides,
Hmm.
like the tides being water, the moon rules Cancer, a water sign. Like and water is kind of like,
Wow.
your emotions, like tears, crying. I don't know. It just all kind of like
Yes.
links together if you like think
Also,
about it
yeah,
deeply.
so connected. Yeah. Um.
And then like your rising sign is, yeah, the one you need to know your exact time of birth for. It is kind of like the aura and energy that you give out to the world. So it's people's first impression of you.
Mhm.
And it's your physical appearance as well. So a lot of rising signs would have similar physical traits. So like
Ah.
say trying to think of ones like Cancer risings, they're ruled by the moon. So sometimes they can have like a circular moon face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I.
I know that sounds a bit mad, but like it's a thing. But this is your rising sign, not
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
being born in June or July.
Mm.
Um, and then say Capricorn risings, they are ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is to do with like the skeleton bones. So usually they have quite strong cheekbones.
What's Aries? I'm like, what's Aries? Getting
Aries,
selfish here, guys.
um, I'm trying to think. I don't know all of them off by heart
Fucking
because
gorgeous.
I'm Aries. So actually, Aquarius, yeah, Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries are the least common rising signs.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
isn't it unique? I'm not like other girls.
you're very unique. I'm trying to think. I can't think off the top of my head for Aries rising.
Best believe I'm gonna be researching later.
Yeah, do.
um,
Yeah, and some of them are a bit negative. So,
take it with a pinch of
like
salt.
some of them are,
Yeah.
yeah. take no notice.
Yeah. Um, and then another thing I wanted to ask about was we talked about the sun, moon, rising. In terms of compatibility, okay, I know people like to go on put in their sun sign and the guy that they're seeing sun sign. I'm like, oh my god, we're not compatible. And on paper, it says that mine and my partner's sun signs are not compatible. But there's something that works. And I remember I was talking to you about it, and you were like, no, you actually are because your Saturn is in
Yeah,
his house of this or whatever. And I was like, okay. Like,
yeah.
so, yeah, what's the type
So
of
you said,
compatibility?
so you're a Gemini and you said your partner is a Virgo. So
Yes.
they have a couple of things in common. So they're not in the same element, but they are in the same modality group. So everyone knows that there's the four elements: water, earth, fire, and air. But there's a whole separate group that the zodiacs are also divided into, which are the modalities, which there's three groups, four zodiacs in each group. 3 by 4 is obviously 12, making up all zodiacs signs. So the three groups are the cardinal signs, the fixed signs, and the mutual signs. And Gemini and Virgo belong to the mutable signs. So like traits of the mutable signs would be like quite flexible, adaptable, versatile, that have like a variety of interests. There and also Mercury and Virgo have the same rulership. So they're both ruled by Mercury. So an emphasis on intellect and communication. So you probably have a bit of intellectual connection
Yeah.
with your partner.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Chefs.
um, so like, yeah, like it, Gemini is like an air sign ruled by Mercury. So they're a bit more, they love to learn and they're a bit
Hmm.
curious. They're like asking all the questions, which like a podcast issue like is perfect for your whole chart. Like it's so funny. It's so
I love
literal. Because your Gemini sun is in the third house of communication as well. Like it's like Geminis are like the yappers of the zodiac. Like, can we replace Two Face with the yapper, please?
yes.
Because
Yes.
it
Yeah.
drives me insane.
Chatty, sociable.
Yeah, exactly. Curious, adaptable, sociable, loves to learn, loves to like
Mhm.
pass on their the things that they've learned. But
Yeah.
then Virgo, being an earth sign ruled by Mercury, they're a bit more
Mhm.
analyzers, like
Yes.
a good attention to detail.
Mm.
So they like to research. Like Geminis are probably more out and about, like physically learning through people, but
Going with the flow.
Virgos are more like,
Yeah.
yeah, do you know?
Yes.
Um, and then also it's not just your sun sign, like your moons, they could be compatible, your Venuses, and then you basically have when you're looking at like compatibility, which is called synastry in astrology, you have to overlay the charts to each other and see where the planets are falling in each other's houses. So,
Hmm.
say this is your chart, and then his chart is going to be, I can't do it properly, like over yours.
Yeah.
Like the circles are going to be on top of each other.
Yeah.
And then, most likely for couples, there's going to be synastry with the fifth house, which is kind of like romance and
Hmm.
playfulness and um yeah, like love and sex and like all that. And then the seventh house, which is long-term relationships and commitment. And when you were telling me about your partners, you both had, what was it that was falling into your his, oh, he's the Scorpio rising, isn't it?
Yes.
And you both have a Taurus moon, so that means you probably just um understand each other on a really deep level
Yeah.
because your moons are the same. So like you just click emotionally, but also intellectually because of your sons. And because he's a Scorpio rising, the seventh house is the exact opposite of the first house. So it's so the chart is like a circle, right? So the houses are obviously going to be like opposite each other.
Right.
So the first house is where your rising sign is. So it's all about you, it's yourself.
Yeah.
And then what's opposite you? All other people, your relationships with people. So that's why the seventh house is opposite the first house. It's your relationships with all other
Yeah.
people, romantic relationships, commitment. And Taurus is the opposite sign of Scorpio because in the zodiac wheel they're 6 months apart.
Yeah.
So that means your Taurus moon falls into your partner's seventh house of relationships.
Oh,
I
so
know that's probably hard
interesting, isn't
to,
it?
yeah.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
so it's not just like taking you and someone's sun signs and be like, oh my god, we're not compatible. It's so much. deeper.
So much more than that.
So like,
It's not like Capricorn and Taurus. It's not Pisces and Cancer. It's not Libra and Gemini. Like it's not the same element. Or like they'll do like if you Google like who is Virgo compatible, it'll be like Virgos are compatible with other earth signs, like I just said, and water signs.
mhm.
They just see Google just pairs it off
Yeah,
um and dumbs it down to fire and air
yeah,
and water and earth, and that there's just so much more to it than that,
yeah.
like so much more.
It makes so much sense too. Like, and then like we were saying earlier, like, and then depends on you and like the person, and of course like your values and your morals and stuff. So I suppose like if
Yeah,
someone
and your
really wanted,
values is represented by Venus. So like
yeah,
say if like you had your moon in Aries and your partner had Venus in Aries, but like then like you were one was like a Scorpio and then the other was an Aquarius or something, then on paper Scorpio and Aquariuses don't like aren't compatible, but then you have to like, oh well, actually our moons and
yeah,
Venuses are the same sign,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
they're conjunct and they're like really harmonious. That can be like you just
So
really like
knowing
affectionate and like
knowing your own birth chart
sweet
would
to each other.
again support you if you were with someone and knew a little bit about their chart. You'd be like, oh, this is where we're like vibing. This is the houses that we live
Yeah,
in.
it's interesting to look into, but like I don't talk about compatibility on my TikTok
Yeah.
or in general too much because I think pop astrology has just dumbed astrology down to like
Yeah.
love and compatibility, and there's so much more to life than all of that. Like I originally got into astrology because of trying to understand myself better and to do with like my career.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
but
And
yeah, there's so much to it.
I
Like
love it. I
yeah,
would love to run through before we go. I have so many questions. Would love to run through. I know we talked a little bit about Gemini's. They're the chatty one, the sociable one. They love to learn. We mentioned about Virgos too, also being a bit more methodical, um, attention to detail. Would you mind like if we ran through like just the
yeah,
typical? And I know again it's just scratching the surface, but I think
yeah,
people love to hear like even if you want to go from the start, like say like Aries, like what could someone expect if they're an Aries?
yeah. So yeah, before I say as like just
Disclaimer.
to reiterate because I know people probably like skip to their one and they're like I'm not like that at all. It completely depends on the rest of your chart because you could have the example of
Your
which people have said to me so much that like oh like I'm a Leo. It's always the Leos actually, and then they'll all because Leos and Virgos are so different,
Mhm.
and they'll have so much Virgo than their chart, so that's why you might always relate to your sun
I
sign.
actually have a Leo best friend, and she's so Virgo.
Yeah.
It's so
She,
interesting.
I send me her thing after, and I guarantee you it'll be like all Virgo, or it's to do with the houses as well.
Yeah.
Like if you're in, yeah, there's just so much to it. But I did write out some stuff, so I might just like read it out because I'll just forget
Yeah.
um as I'm talking out. But like Aries, yeah, so Aries is the first of the zodiac. So sometimes they're referred to as the baby of the zodiac. So that's why the like traits of like being a risk taker
Hmm.
and being independent are referred to with Aries because if you think about like a baby, a
So,
child, like they are
yeah.
more carefree. They don't think about maybe the consequences. Like not saying that Aries don't think about the consequences, but like if we're you like saying that analogy, like children are just like they're fearless. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They're a bit more like innocent and stuff. So that's why Aries, they're the first one. They're also a cardinal fire sign. So the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, and they are the initiators. They're the leaders because they start off each season.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, they're like natural leaders. The best leaders of the zodiac, in my opinion, are Aries, Cancer, Libra, Leo, and Capricorn. Because Leo is just has like that natural flair for leadership,
Hmm.
and they're ruled by the lion, and the lion is like the king of the jungle. If
Yes.
we think about the Lion King, whatever, which I have noticed to be true in real life. When I think about all my managers and work, they will have that like in their
Wow.
chart one way. It mightn't be their sun sign, but it can be their moon or their rising.
Hmm.
So something I have clocked. And then yeah, so Aries, like Aries are the best like entrepreneurs. So they have that like the risk to do it,
Mhm.
but the initiative, the drive, the passion, because Aries are a fire sign, so obviously they have that drive and that ambition, and but they're also ruled by Mars,
Right.
and Mars is the get up and go action planet. You have the motivation, um, and like if you're in Aries and you're not doing some sort of sport or physical exercise, you really should, because you have all that Mars
Yes.
fiery energy
Yeah.
and you need to sweat it out. You need to work it out. It'll help with your temper, it'll help with your impulses, it'll help with that pent up energy. So that's Aries. They're courageous and brave, like, but again, not all of them. Like you could be an Aries with so much Taurus in your chart, and your Tauruses are the opposite. They don't like always taking initiative because they're
Yeah.
sometimes hesitant and afraid of change. So Taurus then
Or
is
like
next
they're
in the zodiac
expansive.
wheel. Yeah, so Taurus is a fixed earth sign, and the fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So you think about like a fixed bill, it's the same amount every single month. So
Mhm.
that means there's no change, there's no variable. They like, so the fixed signs, they like things to stay the same. So, and especially of all the fixed signs, when I think of Taurus, they're an earth sign, right? So the
Mhm.
earth signs, on paper are, they like their comfort, stability, and they're practical. So
Mhm.
Taurus out of all the signs, like they're that bit more hesitant and resistant to change. They like their stability, they like their security and their comfort. They don't always like leaving their comfort zone, but that's not to say they don't, because then that, as I said, Taurus could have an Aries
Yeah.
rising or an Aries Mars or whatever. And Taurus is also ruled by Venus, and Venus is, all like the pleasures in life and the sensuality. So Tauruses love their luxuries and
Yeah.
their money and beauty and style.
Yeah.
And again, not all Tauruses,
Sometimes foodies as
but
well, I find.
foodies, yeah, exactly, because food is a pleasure, and it's like a sensual thing, I
Hmm.
suppose. Um, and yeah, that's why Tauruses get the rep for being stubborn, because they are just a bit set
They
in
like
their
what they
ways because they like their comfort. They like what they like. They like their comfort zone.
like. Hmm.
Uh, like obviously nothing wrong with that. Like security is really important to them, whether that's relationships, their job, family, or routine. It makes them feel safe.
Yeah.
And um, but that doesn't mean that they'll never change. They'll just maybe do it when they're ready. Do not push a Taurus. They will do it when they're ready. They like to like do things slowly. And with the fixed signs as well, they're concerned with preservation because they like a familiar environment, a familiar, yeah, whether that's relationship, work, they like a bit of routine, but that's not to say that they'll never change. It depends on,
Hmm.
of course, the rest of their chart, their rising, the rest of the placements, the houses, the aspects as well, which I haven't like gone into, but um, yeah. And the fixed signs, like they, okay, so the negative sides of the fixed signs is that they can be quite stubborn, but stubborn can be a good thing as well because that means you're quite
Consistent.
consistent and you persevere. Like if
Yeah.
the fixed signs, again, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, if they literally when they might take a while to get going to start something or make their mind up about something, but when they do they will never go back, as in like
Yeah.
whether it's like a breakup or like if they've finally decided to lock in with something, they will be consistent with it, or
Hmm.
obviously again depending on the rest of your chart, but like they'll try. So yeah. And yeah, so then we have Gemini. So Gemini is a mutable air sign ruled by Mercury. So kind of touched on Gemini earlier. So not
Yeah.
two-faced whatsoever. The reason I think that notion came about is because they're very adaptable. So they could walk
Yeah.
into a party and they love to learn and socialize with people. So they could literally go to, let's do like stereotypes of groups of people. They could go over to the sports people and they could be talking about the Liverpool game last night.
Hmm.
Then they could go over to people who are into theatre, drama, and dance, and they're talking to them. Then they're going over to people and they're talking about politics. So they have, because they're air mutable sign, the mutable signs have a
Yeah.
variety of interests, and They like to switch things up. They need to keep their mind stimulated because they're ruled by Mercury. Mercury is about your mind, your thoughts, and communication, and your intellect. So they
Right.
like to
Okay.
learn. They're curious. So that's why I think they there's this notion that Geminis are two-faced. They're not. They are just able to converse and connect and socialize with people really well. That people, I think it's a jealousy thing, to be honest. People just think like, oh, like they're quite knowledgeable because they yap a lot. So they know all these things because they're talking. Geminis can talk to a wall. I literally, one of my really good friends is Gemini Moon, and she could literally talk to a wall.
I actually relate to that so much about Geminis because yeah, I think like as well I grew up like as Gemini like with a sense of like that wanting to adapt. I want to be able to talk to everyone. Like plonk me in a room and I'll get to know them. Like I'll chat to them.
Yeah,
Especially when you meet another Gemini, it's like blah, like it's
yeah,
great. Um, but I did find like for myself, and I think like other Geminis might relate that like you kind of it's harder to find your sense of self then because it's like, well, who am I? If I want to know everything about everyone else, which category am I in? And it's like harder than to slot yourself into them because you're like, well, I'm curious about them all. So I think again, yeah, with that whole thing of like being two-faced, it's like, no, we're just curious and we're adaptable.
yeah. You're flexible and you love to learn, and you're quite funny as well because Mercury is like the trickster in astrology and like ancient astrology. So that like you're just
Mhm.
witty. Gemini, because again you're so intellectual. You're quite quick with
Yeah,
your,
yeah,
with your wittiness. Trying to think. Oh yeah, so as well with Geminis. So again, this could be like Gemini Moon, Gemini Rising, also your chart ruler. You could
hmm
have one Gemini placement, and you could be so Gemini because of your chart ruler. Being in Gemini. Say you're Scorpio rising and your Mars is in Gemini, then that's your chart ruler because Scorpio is ruled by Mars. You have to
hmm
see what the ruling planet of your rising sign is. Um, and like the thing with Geminis is that like because they're ruled by Mercury, they're so intellectual, they're so curious, and all these things that there's like 1,000 mental tabs going on at the one time. They're thinking about what they're making for dinner, then they're singing a song over here, then they're thinking about like just like random facts. Like they're so that
yeah,
can lead to like anxiety and overthinking, which is like a thing with the
yeah,
Mercury signs. The same with Virgo, but
yeah.
Virgo is a bit different. I think Gemini is a bit more overreactive, and they're like on overdrive.
Yeah, that's so true. Like our head's a little bit in the clouds sometimes.
Yeah.
That is
Um,
so true. Yeah.
and then yeah,
Cancer
so
is Cancer next?
yeah, so Cancer's next. So Cancer is a cardinal water sign. So again, you mightn't think it, but Cancers are actually good leaders because they have that cardinal energy, and a lot of Cancers would have, well, some Cancers would have Leos in their chart as well, which
hmm
also go good at leadership. Um, but like the water is like obviously, emotional, like, but again, not every, you could have one water sign in your chart, but then what are the aspects, what are the houses doing, do you know what I mean? I just have
hmm
to reiterate that so much. um so yeah, emotional, intuitive, nostalgic, sentimental. Usually cancers have a good long-term memory, especially if they have a Cancer Mercury, because
hmm
Mercury is your mind and your thoughts as well. And cancers have that like maternal, like mother energy. Like I am a
Yes.
Cancer sun, so like I'm always the mother of my friend group. Like growing up, like my mom used to call me Aunt
Yeah.
Linda when I was in school.
Oh,
um I know I'm like I am that therapist friend, and two of my best friends are Cancers as well, and I always, like, I haven't said it to them, but I like always think in my head that like we rotate being the therapist friends, like the three of us.
oh my God.
But like
My
it
mom
is,
is a Cancer, and everyone would say like, your mom is like all of our moms. Like,
yeah,
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 it's mad.
like Cancers as well, because they're ruled by the moon. They're similar to Taurus in a way because Taurus exalts in the moon exalts in Taurus. So like the
hmm
moon does very well. It feels comfortable in Taurus because um the moon is to do with like your home as well, and like all these things. And Taurus is like comfy and cozy. So Cancer is the same. It likes the stability and its security as well, because if you think about Cancer, it's ruled by the crab. So
hmm
your sometimes Cancers have a bit of a hard exterior because of the shell, and they're like inside it, so sometimes they're a bit like slow or afraid to open up to like be vulnerable. So that's very much like
Yeah,
a Cancerian thing. But once they do, they will protect you with their life, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's why as well, like a bit crabby, a bit moody, but then that's to do with like the moon more than like a crab, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it is a form of self protection as well, like the whole like hard exterior thing.
Mhm.
But they're very sensitive and intuitive. Trusting their gut would be really important. And then because of the whole like moon thing, so the moon fluctuates, whatever like house it's in. So like that's
Mhm.
again coming back to the moodiness of cancers. But then on the positive, they're very flexible and adaptable then at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, so then we have Leo. So Leo is such an interesting one to me because Leo is ruled by the sun. So Cancer and Leo are the only ones that don't have a co-ruler. So say Gemini and Virgo are both ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is the co-ruler of both of those signs. But Cancer is
Mhm.
the only one ruled by the moon, and Leo is the only one ruled by the sun. So Leo is a fixed fire sign. So like the
Mhm.
fire traits of like being enthusiastic and passionate and um optimistic and bold, like all that
Mhm.
energy. But being ruled by the sun, I always say to Leos, never let anyone dim your light because the sun is meant to shine.
Mhm.
And it's a big thing with Leos and like their inner child. Um,
Mm.
so it's kind of like sometimes, okay, so Leos can be like the biggest cheerleaders for other people. They
Mm.
um celebrate other people and they're giving them recognition and praise, and pride is like a big thing to do with Leo as well, like being proud of who you are. But sometimes pride can be like, I suppose a bit negative thing as well.
Mhm.
But with your inner child, it's kind of like, okay, it's great that you're praising and celebrating other people, but don't forget to praise and celebrate yourself, your inner child,
Yes.
because it's,
I'm thinking of one of my best friends, and she's literally like the biggest cheerleader ever,
yeah,
and
and
she's a Leo.
she's a Leo, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because it comes back to like your inner, sorry, my curtain is irritating me. Um, yeah, it comes back to your inner child. Like a lot of Leo placements, like I ask them like, okay, what is your like experience with like, people accepting you for who you are, because
Mhm.
it's the sun is who you are,
Yeah.
as I was saying earlier. And it just comes back to those early development years. If you
Mhm.
were, bullied or made fun of, or if you um weren't praised or acknowledged for your, you know, self, like who
Mhm.
you are, for your achievements, like that's why Leos sometimes have that tendency to be the center of attention, because they crave and sometimes need that validation. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? So
Yes.
I hate when people are like, oh, I hate Leos, they're always the center of attention, but like it goes deeper than that. Like, why
Yeah.
are they doing
I
that?
I love Leos. I always find they're so kind and really like loyal and
Yeah, they're very generous. Like they're
yeah,
great
very generous.
to other people, but I think they're very hard on themselves because
Oh,
usually,
Leos, be nice to yourself.
yeah, it's like don't dim your light. Um, and like it is a process, and I think that's
Mhm.
why a lot of people don't relate to being a Leo, because as I gave the example of earlier of what that astrologer said, that like you're not born like who you are, you grow
Mhm.
into yourself. So Leos, you're going to grow into yourself and you're going to be able to take the spotlight without maybe being the loudest person in the room, because some Leos are unfortunately a bit cocky and a bit egocentrical. Not
Mhm.
all Leos, okay? I have Leo friends as well, and there's negatives to all the other signs as
Yeah.
well. Do you know what I mean? Like Aries can be quite selfish because they rule the self.
Mhm.
Libras can be very much people pleasers because they rule relationships, because they're ruled by Venus. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to touch on that with Leos, because all you see online about Leos is that they're attention seeking and they're like the loudest person in the room. Like, absolutely not, because a lot of Leos have a lot of Virgo in their chart, and Virgos actually can be quite timid.
Mhm.
But then you can have a Virgo that has a load of Leo in their chart, and then that's like the opposite. So
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
really just depends.
Yeah.
But yeah, Leos do have like step into your creativity as well, and your hobbies and your passions. Like just express yourself, whether that's with your
Mhm.
style or your hobbies or your talents. Just like, yeah, they're very fun. I like Leos.
Yeah.
Um, they're energetic, and they have that like warm energy about them because they're
Yes,
ruled by the sun.
warmness. Yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, they usually have a lot of energy because again, the sun gives you energy and
Hmm.
vitality, but again, not all Leos. If you have like if you're a Virgo rising, your Leo sun is going to be in the 12th house, and the 12th house doesn't really have a lot of energy. It's going to hide the sun, but like that's like
Yeah.
a 12th house thing. But then we have Virgo. So I actually love talking about Virgo. So Virgos is a mutable earth sign ruled by Mercury.
Hmm.
So as I was saying, the mutable signs are flexible and adaptable. And like the thing with the mutable signs, so Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, and Sagittarius, they are not the best at finishing things because they have so they did I just shock you?
Yeah, my partner.
So because you're so interested in so many different things, you're like, I want to try out rugby, I want to go baking, I want to do an art class, I want to do this, I want to do that, because you're so like interested in different things,
Hmm.
and you need to be kept stimulated as well. The mutual signs, especially Mercury, or especially Virgo and Gemini, because you're ruled by Mercury, because you constantly like to learn. Um, that you might struggle to finish things, but also because you can get a bit restless, you can get bored. So like it'll stimulate you for a while, and then you're like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm not going to finish that. I'm bored now. It's not stimulating me anymore. So that can be the challenge for the mutable signs. But then on the positive, you're so adaptable. Great
Hmm.
for like that's a great on any CV. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really flexible, um, versatile, like all those things. So with Virgos, and again, I just love talking about Virgos because they're so hard on themselves. They have this thing with like being perfect. Like there's no such thing as like perfect. It doesn't exist. Like
Hmm.
Virgos can be quite like perfectionist tendencies. So just be mindful of that because they're quite sometimes, again, not all. I think usually like maybe a Virgo that maybe hasn't worked on themselves can be quite critical and judgy of other people, but that's because they're critical of themselves, which I just
Hmm.
think is like that goes deeper, and I just feel bad for them in that way. So like control is another thing for Virgos. I'm not saying not in a way that like they're controlling of other people.
Hmm.
They just like things to come out perfectly and to be organized. So when things don't go their way, they can maybe spiral a bit. So it's like learning to release control, and that you can't like, you
Control the
know,
outcome, like,
yeah,
yeah.
do you know what I mean? So you just have to like that's where they can learn from their sister sign Pisces, is
Yeah.
to like go with the flow, go with your intuition, and that's
Move
what the
like
eclipse
water.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Trust your intuition, go with the flow, look at the bigger picture, because Virgo is so focused and hyper focused and fixated on the smaller details
Hmm.
that, like, say if they had to do like a project for work or college, and they
Hmm.
spend like hours and hours refining and perfecting one paragraph, and then next thing the deadline is up and they don't have the thing done. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Because they're too
Yes, yes, yes.
busy focusing on the smaller, finer details, wanting it
Yeah.
to be
Then the bigger
perfect.
picture. Yeah.
And the bigger picture then is like not completed, or it's like lost. So it's like try not to like let the run of yourself go. I don't even know if that makes sense. The stereotype with Virgos being clean freaks, like no. One of my
Yeah.
friends
No.
is
I'm
a
like,
Virgo.
where?
I've noticed it more with Virgo moons,
Hmm.
but not Virgo suns. Not all Virgo suns are like some of those Virgos are very messy. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, as well with Virgos, I want to touch on them being for their love language is acts of service, because um speak of some nice things about the Virgos that I do love Virgos is that they're very helpful, and they like to be, so they're quite a service
Yes. They're like, I'll
orientated.
help you. Yeah.
Yeah,
To
they're
everyone.
yeah, so they're a service orientated sign. So again, that's where the act of service love language comes from. But again, it's to be mindful that yes, you're so helpful and you're so kind and caring, and you want to like help people, and that's all well and good. Like I see a lot of like Virgos in service industry careers, like whether they're like a nurse, or like a lot of nutritionists have Virgo in their chart, whether they're a Virgo sun, moon, rising, Mercury, whatever, because Virgo is quite health
Hmm.
conscious, and
Yeah.
Virgo constantly wants to improve. It wants to do better all the time. So
Hmm.
why they're so hard on themselves, that like high like standards and self improvement and stuff. So I do see a lot of Virgos in those kind of like health sciences, or like doctors, nurses.
Hmm.
Um but you have to remember boundaries and not to sacrifice yourself
Hmm.
and go too far with wanting to save people. It's okay to help people, but you can't save everyone, and learn
Can't say
to
everyone. Yeah.
know when, okay, this is like unhealthy now for me, do you know?
Hmm.
But like it
Yeah.
comes from a good place, obviously, because they're so kind.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're great analyzers, methodical, so they're great researchers as well, just to like throw that in there. So next is Libras. Libras are cardinal air signs.
Hmm.
So they're ruled by Venus as well. So the same with Taurus. So again, anything with like beauty, style, art, Venus is just all the good like things in life. So Libras can be quite like aesthetical. They like their balance. So we think of like the scales with Libra. So Libras, so I said this before to someone, they were like, how does that make any sense? So like Libras are cardinal signs, so they can be a good leader, but Libras are very indecisive. So then someone went to me like, oh, an indecisive leader, that like makes loads of sense. And I said,
Hmm.
actually it does, because when I think of people that I know that are in roles of authority,
Yeah.
and they have Libra in their chart, they are very good leaders because they actually take time to just sit and pause
Like
and
think about
weigh
what they're
up
gonna.
the
Yeah.
options. And like they're not like Aries, because Aries is the opposite sign of Libra. Aries are just like going right in, like they're direct, they're
Hmm.
straightforward, they're impulsive sometimes.
Hmm.
But Libra's kind of like to sit in their decision. So that's why they
Yes.
get the rep of being
It's a thought out
indecisive.
decision. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with weighing up the pros and cons, but then you just have to, life is all about balance. You can't go into the extremes of one or the other. So you can't be overly decisive and relying on other people
Hmm.
for their opinions. That is a thing with Libras, because they are the relationship orientated sign. So again, opposite
Hmm.
to Aries, is Aries is to do with the self, Libra is to do with other people. So that's where
Interesting.
Libras need to watch, for people pleasing and to losing yourself in relationships to other people, to placing other people's opinions higher than your own, and
Hmm.
relying on people's opinions. That's where the
Yeah.
indecisiveness can, like, learn to trust yourself. But like another thing that I just thought of that is interesting is because, as I said, your sun is like who you are, and it can take time to grow into that. That sometimes like people don't relate to their sun sign at all because they have a lot of maybe growth to do. That they might relate maybe
Yeah.
to the opposite side. That there could be Aries out there that are quite
Oh.
people pleasing, that they need to learn to be more independent. They need to learn to take risks. Or maybe a Libra out there is quite, um, you know, a little bit like self-centered, maybe, that maybe
Yeah.
they need to work on their relationships with other people. So sometimes the astrology is like your lessons and growth in life as well. That maybe you're a Leo because you need to step into the spotlight. You need to
Yeah.
build your confidence. That maybe you're a Virgo because you need to maybe, I suppose, look at the details a bit more,
Yeah.
and not at the bigger picture all the time. So sometimes it just depends where you are in your life, and it depends on the strength of your sun, basically,
Yeah.
because some
Hmm.
people's sun is strong in their chart and others it's not. Um, so if you are like sure of yourself, then you're probably, do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, Libras can be quite fair and balanced, like all those stereotypes, and they can be quite. They like they're an air sign, so that all the air signs like to connect with people. They like to learn. They like to pass on their information. Like I'm sure, like I should have been given like celebrity examples actually as I got on, but I was going on, but like I just thought there that Keela Moncrief is a Libra, so like she definitely has like leadership qualities, I would say. Like
Yeah.
she
I
works
love
for
her.
herself,
Hmm.
and she loves, like, she has her podcast. She loves learning. That girl has so many different interests, and
Yeah.
she loves connecting and sharing her ideas. So that is very much like the airness of
Yeah.
Libra. So I hope that makes sense. And I feel like Keelan's relationships in her life are like so important to her as well, because
Yeah.
she, has had a couple of long-term relationships. She's very close with her friends, her family. Do you know what I mean? So that's like
Hmm.
very much
Yeah.
Libra
So interesting, isn't it?
connecting with people, because Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus is relationships and love and connection.
Hmm.
And again, not just romantic. I always emphasize that because, you know, yeah. So then we have Scorpio. So Scorpio is another one that is
My
so,
son is a Scorpio, so I'm like, oh, and I don't know a lot about them.
because it is a load of BS that I see online about Scorpios, and
Right.
it drives me insane. One of my best friends is a Scorpio, and she literally said to my face like a few years ago, like, Rachel, astrology is not real, and she didn't have her time of birth at the time. Now she wasn't being mean, obviously. It was like she was like laughing at me,
Yeah, yeah,
and found her time of birth, broke it down for her, and she was like, oh, and she's like, what, like, so obsessed with it now, and she'd be like, messaging me like, what's going on with this and that, and like, she's like really into it. And the one of the main reasons she didn't believe in astrology was because of what pop astrology says about Scorpio, that
hmm
you're sexy and then intense, and that you love the color red and everything's dark, and you're mysterious, and you're revengeful and spiteful, like all these things. And
yeah,
I'm like, that is literally not Scorpio at all.
yeah,
Like, anyway, so Scorpio is a fixed water sign ruled by Mars. So again, the fixedness of, like, they're very, again, if you've mostly fixed signs in your chart, dependable, consistent, reliable, persevering, all those things. But Scorpios can be quite stubborn in their own way as well. But they're a water sign, so compassionate,
hmm
emotional, intuitive. Um, like, in the thing with Scorpio is they're very deep, okay? And
yes,
it's like that in-depthness. They need that emotional connection in their relationships, and they love deep conversations, and they're quite good researchers as well, because they love to get to the nitty-gritty of things, like that
hmm
deep research, because yeah, they just love it. And they have like good like survival instincts as well, because if you think with Scorpios, it's all to do with like transformations and a
hmm
lot of change in their life. Like, a lot of Scorpio placements, especially, I feel like more Scorpio moons, risings, and Venus, maybe, like, they sometimes have been through like a lot in their lives, and it's kind of like that saying of like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Like, that's what I think
yeah,
about when I think about a Scorpio, because they've been through a lot, but they have that great bounce back, or that great resilience,
hmm
survival instinct, that they always get through it. And it's kind of like that theme of like rebirth, where they will learn so much from whatever hardship or experience they've been through. Or maybe it's just like a rebirth of like who they are. Like, they could be like one person in school, then they go to college and they're a completely different person, and then they finish college and they're different. They have different
yeah,
eras of their lives,
yeah,
um which I always find so interesting. So all this stuff I see on social media about
yeah.
Scorpios, it
It's
actually
not
drives
fair.
me insane. No, it's not. They get such a bad doing, and it's just not true. Because when I think of the Scorpios in my life, like that stereotype, they're mysterious. Some of the, like, when I think of like Scorpio, I used to work with two Scorpios that were so chatty. My aunt is a Scorpio, she's very
hmm
chatty. My best friend that I'm on about, she literally is so chatty. Like, I don't know where this thing came from, that they're like mysterious. Like, they might like
Yeah,
mysterious things. Like, they like to uh like research, I suppose. But they're ruled by Mars, so they're ambitious, they're driven. Again, if you're a Scorpio, or you've Scorpio in your chart, you should be doing some sort of physical exercise to release your emotions, because you're a
it's
water sign as
interesting.
well. That pent up energy is true for Scorpios as well.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of my episode with Rachel O'Shea, talking all things astrology and zodiac signs. Be sure to come back next week for part 2. You definitely do not want to miss it. Thank you for tuning into Cosmic Conversations. If you enjoyed this episode, then please let me know. Maybe consider leaving a 5-star review or a comment on what you thought. I'd love to hear suggestions and feedback on any topics you'd like me to explore or unpack, or maybe a guest that you'd like me to have on so I can pick their brain. If you have a cosmic confession or a dilemma that you'd like me to explore next week, then please send it my way on Instagram at cosmicconversationspod, or email thecosmiccoach.ie@gmail.com. Thank you, and see you next week.